My name is Sacha Vanderbeke. The content of this webinar, I will be talking about the following things. First of all, I will give you some tips and tricks and do's and don'ts throughout the entire webinar on how to start an online course and extra stuff to help make sure it works all right the way it should work. I will also talk about the programs I use and the apps I use in addition to BookWidgets. BookWidgets is an incredibly great tool, but I also use a couple of other programs as well. I will talk about the widgets I use the most and why I use those specific widgets. Then I will talk about the student experience. We have been using an online course for a couple of years now at my school, and we have already found some things to be difficult, some other things to be easier. So I will give you some tips and tricks as well, considering that. And I think most importantly, I will show you an example of my digital course in the end as well. First of all, how to start a digital course. We started at our school writing our own course materials about 6 years ago, and then we mostly made a workbook on paper. So that's how we had a starting point or a base to start making our exercises into a digital course. It's easy if you have a starting point. Some people write their own materials. Other people use existing workbooks to make BookWidgets exercises for the students. You can choose which one, but a starting point is really necessary, I think. Another thing I found important before starting with our digital story and even before writing our own course on paper was we had to have a framework, a structure to follow, so we wouldn't get lost in the heaps of possibilities, because there are a lot of possibilities when you are making your own course materials. So that framework, I found that really, really important. When I went digital, I already knew I'm going to use those widgets, I'm going to use those question types in certain widgets, and so on. Then it's very important to have a great team to work with. At first, there was only 2 of us, and we had a lot of work to do. Now there's 4 of us writing and making the courses for our school, and that is really necessary. Also, talk with your team. Share the expectations you have for the course, and if something's not going right, talk to each other. We had a couple of small fights because we didn't talk to each other. So when writing course materials, especially if not everybody is as skilled in BookWidgets as the other, talk to each other. Also, take some time. Don't think, oh, I'll make this in 2 weeks and it will be ready for an entire school year. That's not the case. We started 6 years ago. We made 2 different courses, one for the students in the first year of secondary, one for the second year as well. So in those 6 years, we have written it on paper. We have taken out some wrong stuff and things like that. And now we are perfectioning it and making it digital as well. First of all, the programs and the apps I use, top of the list, of course, BookWidgets. It's the most important one that we use. Next to that, we have Pages or any existing text editor. It could be Microsoft Word, Google Documents, etc. But we also have a small part still on paper. For us, our students asked to have a syllabus on paper with all the theoretic parts of the course, meaning vocabulary lists, grammar overviews, sentences they can use in dialogues and things like that. So we also have that paper syllabus, which I will show you in a while. We also have Smart School, which is a learning management system like Google Classroom, for example, Microsoft Teams. That's how we share our widgets with our students. Smart School is quite well used in Belgium. I know some other schools who use Google Classroom as well. So there are multiple options here to choose from. Then we have a couple of apps or programs we use for the creative parts. Our students also have to make speaking videos, writing, they have to write texts. So we use Adobe Spark Video or Clips. Clips is a specific app on an iPad. We also use Texting Story to copy or to make dialogues like the students are chatting in real life. And there are still a lot of other apps that induce creativity that we use. We use Keynote, for example, we use Google Apps for education as well, and plenty more. This is actually the descending order from important going down to a little less important one by one. Now, the widgets I use in my online course, first of all, I use the planner widget. The planner widget is the one that I am going to be showing you later today. And that's the one I wanted to use because I wanted to have one clear framework. We have in every course a couple of chapters. In the second year, there are 6. In the first year, there's 7 chapters. Each chapter has a specific planner. And then in the planner, there's the other widgets, one after the other. The benefits of the planner I will talk about a little later on as well. Then we have web quests. I suppose most of you will know what a web quest is. Why didn't I use the web quest to make the entire framework? Because in the planner, you can check off the things you did. And the web quest I already have to use for other specific parts for grammar, for example. Then the worksheet and the split worksheet are used to put in my exercises for the students. I teach French, so it's a language I teach, so I have to have a lot of different exercises and questions they have to solve. I put those in a worksheet or a split worksheet. The difference, if they need an extra source of information, for example, a video or a song or a text to read, I use the split worksheet to have it next to each other so the students can work more easily. Then there's also the quiz I use. I use the quiz mostly for tests and what we call level tests. We use level tests after a certain small part of theory of grammar. Then the students make a level test, which decides the level of exercises they have to make later on in my lessons. Then I also use the checklist. The checklist I use for the bigger tasks, for the writing and speaking assignments, for example, so that my students don't get lost. They get lost quite easily if it's a bigger assignment. They forget things, so that's why I make checklists as well. Once they use those checklists the way they should, their marks go up quite a bit. Then there's still the PDF viewer. I have my syllabus on paper, but I also use the PDF viewer to make sure they can access the course or the materials online as well. Because a problem in Belgium, and I think in all countries, is students tend to forget their stuff. They don't bring their course, they don't bring things to write with, things like that. That's why we have the PDF viewer to share the syllabus as well. Those are the most important ones I use. From time to time, I use the YouTube player to add in my knowledge clips that I made. And sometimes I add in some games as well to make sure they still have something to do when they did all their exercises faster than some other students. As I said already, our students have been working with a digital course for a couple of years now. It started a little more than 2 years ago. And at our school, we work in a one-on-one system, which means every student has their own device. We work with iPads, for example. Every couple of months, I have the students fill in a survey about the way we work. They can be honest. If something's not going good, they can just say it. I don't get offended when they do so. I learn from it and I change things because of it. Generally, the results of those surveys are positive. The students like the way we work. The old style of working was a little boring for them. They had to talk in front of the class. They had to make exercises in a book, which they found very boring from time to time. If I use the same exercises in BookWidgets, they don't mind that much. One of the difficulties that we have encountered using this digital course is students didn't really know how to work with it, how to use it. Because in primary school, they don't always learn how to do that. So that's something to keep in mind. If you start with a digital way, make sure you help them, you guide them in using BookWidgets and other apps or programs. And some other students also didn't really know how to study, how to learn anymore. They were like, but now I don't have a paper book anymore. Now I can't write. How do I do it? So for that as well, guide the students, coach them, if you will, so that they can work in the way that works for them. The students also like that we differentiate. We have two levels. We call them in French, curieux et expert. So actually the beginners and the more advanced exercises. And they like that they always work on their own level. Doesn't mean that the level is always the same. This week, I have had a lot of students who are making the advanced exercises, while last week, a lot of them were making the beginners stuff. So it depends from each part, which level of exercises they make. I just want to repeat once again, when you start with a digital course, please coach your students, give them tips, ask how they are managing, if they know how to work, and so on. And then I think I am at the most important part. I am going to show you an example of my course materials. You will notice some of it has been translated, especially in the digital part in the BookWidgets. Some of it hasn't been translated and it's still in French or Dutch. If I had to translate everything, I wouldn't have slept for the past 3 weeks, I guess. So that's why I only translated a couple of parts for you. I will be telling you exactly what you see and what is in my course materials. If you have questions, keep them in mind for the end of the webinar. I will answer them for you later on. So I should be able to go to my PDF part of the course. If Cheryl could just tell me if she can see my screen and it's with a little thing on the top, I don't know. Okay, perfect. Thank you. First of all, I'm showing you the paper syllabus. This is the one for the first year. We used to have workbooks of about 350, 400 pages. My new course is only, paper syllabus is only 90 pages in the first year, 66 in the second. I start with 2 pages of what to do with this course. How do we work? What can you expect? Even on the second page, what to do when there's something wrong in BookWidgets. If, for example, when they use the iPad, they can't type anymore, they can't write, then they have to do a hard reset, for example. I have made sure that they have everything in the first part of my paper syllabus. A lot of students have taken out this page, this second page, and they have made sure that it was laminated so that they can keep using this part. Because, for example, it says in a web quest, there are internal links you can follow. They don't always keep that in mind. So with this page, they know what to do and what to expect. Then there's a part where I tell them what we will be seeing in the first chapter. The first chapter, Coucou, c'est moi. It's something like, hello, this is me, to get to know each other. And then there are the things we agree on, the behavior in classes. That's also added. I don't know if every teacher has those. I have those. A couple of tips to study, a couple of hints. And then these are a couple of sentences already. The students need these sentences when they have specific questions. So that's been added in the course as well. And a couple of instructions. if they don't understand a certain instruction, they can see it in this list. But then I think this is the most important part. That's the part where it really starts in my course. I always have the title here in bold letters in an actual title font, and the students will recognize this in the planner they have been given. Then I give a little small piece of text telling them this is what we are going to do in this series of widgets. And then they have room for passwords. I will show you the way that we integrate the passwords. The reason we use passwords, the students get a couple of exercises, and at the end, before they can see the corrections, they need to get the password. In the beginning, we didn't do this. We didn't have passwords, and the students were like, okay, I'll click the button so I can see all the right answers, and then I'll make sure everything is correct when I fill it in. But that's not the way they have to learn. They have to try to make the exercises themselves. They don't get to cheat while using this password. It's a password they get just to see the correction key. So there's a couple of different subjects here. And then this is the first part that they have to learn. This is a vocabulary list. They get the French words in the first column, the translation in the second one, and then we provide one sentence, a small sentence, using those words so they know how they can use it in a sentence. This is what they wanted the students on paper to study. They always said, if we have to study this on an iPad, on a laptop, on a screen, any screen, it's hard. It's not easy. And certain studies provide or show that it has to be done, or it should be learned on paper as well. If you want to go 100% digital, you can do that. You can use this, you can put it in the PDF viewer, and then they have it as well. So you don't have to have the paper, but in my experience, the students, about 2/3 of it, still use the paper parts to study. So then the list goes on a bit, then another password, and then I have some grammar overviews as well. This one for the numbers. A little later on, there are some grammar overviews for the verbs as well in French, not the easiest part mostly. And they also get, in the paper syllabus, they get these typical sentences. They have to complete the sentences to make a video, or to write a text, for example. And in this case, they have to present themselves. So they know if they say, je m'appelle, and then their name, then they have a good sentence that they can use. So this is what we give, or what we provide in the paper syllabus to our students. As you may see, a lot of room for deadlines or passwords, and then we have some of our first verbs. So this is just about everything we put in the paper syllabus. At first, the students are a bit iffy with the passwords. They're like, well, we don't need a password. Don't you trust us? I trust most of them, but sometimes there's one who likes to cheat and who likes to pretend they made the exercises, but just correct it and then copy and paste, for example. So I hope this is all quite clear, this part of the course. Once again, you can make sure this is added in BookWidgets as well. We provide it on paper and we put it on Smart School, our learning management system, our LMS. And then I am going to change to the BookWidgets website, and I am going to show you one of the planners that we use. As you see, I have a lot of different folders. If you go digital, and some of you probably have already quite some widgets, I can just only say, please use folders to have a good framework. One of my coworkers doesn't do that, and then she's searching in long, long lists. Please use folders as well. I'm going to show you, but then I have to switch this a little bit. There you go, because my Zoom screen was in the way. I'm going to show you my planner to start. This is the first planner for the first chapter that we use in our first year of secondary. So students come fresh out of primary school, they come to us and they see a planner like this. I think you can see already that there are quite a lot of cover images that I have made myself using Keynote quite easily and using FreePic for the pictures, for the cartoons. I also gave it a nice background, but you can see the colors as well. These colors, they all have a meaning. That's why I wanted to work with the planner, because as I said, you can check off the things you have done, but you can also give colors to certain things. The lighter green one, and the students know that after 1 or 2 chapters, the lighter green one means that they will have a listening exercise. You can also see that on the cover image I added. The darker green one is a reading comprehension. You can see the book as well. And then we have the red ones. The red ones are for vocabulary. You will see not all the titles have been translated. I only translated the ones that I changed to show you. So as I said, the planner is my framework, my structural work, and then the students can open the very first widget, in this case, the listening exercise. So they open it, and then they get the questions. They get them in French, and the translation is normally in Dutch. For today, I have made the questions, or I have translated the questions to English, and then I have kept the French translation as well. So for this, the students have to listen to these 4 characters from our course who present themselves. So we have a couple, and they're 2 robot dogs. They will be in the entire course. I think you already know how to add the sound in a widget. If you don't, I can show you later on. So they listen to it and they fill in the blanks, or they answer all the questions. And then they have to give this password. If they don't give the password, they won't see the correct answers. I don't know it by heart right now. I would have to cheat and look it up in a second. So that's the way we work. They make it, they can check it off. As you may see, the planner doesn't have a lot of options. You can add more options that will be in the top part here, near the bin, near the rubbish bin. I don't do that right now. I may do that in the future, but for now, this is all the widgets they will have to make. This is what they will do. They can't change it yet because they're a bit too young to have the responsibility to change and to add things like that. So the first one was a worksheet, the listening exercise. The reading exercise is a split worksheet with the text on the left, and on the right side they get the questions. A couple of translation questions and a couple of regular questions to answer with a very short answer. Then I have also made sure I had a checklist ready to show you guys. The Well, This Is Me checklist. Once again, I teach French. It's a language, and it's very important in a language to also write and talk that specific language. If students have to go in front of the classroom and they have to stand there and present themselves, they are scared, they are nervous, and some of them don't do well at all. Some of them even don't want to talk. Using this checklist, and you can see it's not the most elaborate one, but for new students, it's already enough. With this checklist, I just tell the students, look, you have your iPad, you go, you sit in the hallway, you make a video in the app, Adobe Spark Video. They can also just film themselves, for example. You can also do this with a laptop. You can have them film themselves, and they have to present themselves while talking to their device. Some of the benefits of that are they can, when they make a mistake, they can do it again. They can start over. they can make sure that the video is how they want it to be. So they have to welcome the viewers, they have to tell their name all in French, these things they have to say. And then I even add how they can upload it, how they can earn bonus points, etc., and so on. A lot of students use this checklist, they check it off, and what I have found, or what I have noticed, if they check it off, their video is made the way it should be. Sometimes we have students with certain learning disabilities, and I had one this year as well. And I always explain what they have to do in front of the classroom as well. I say you'll make a video, you'll talk about your name, age, and so on. And she already forgot almost everything I said. She didn't use a checklist, and she had uploaded a video and she only had said 2 sentences. No, I'm lying. She had 3. She said she welcomed the viewers. She said what her name was and what her age was. And that was it. So I had to fail her for that video. But she has a learning disability, so I gave her a second chance. I said, listen, take this checklist. I will help you with it. Check what you already did. And she could check this and the last part to upload it. And that was it. And then I told her, look, can you see why I am failing you for this part? And then she said, yes, can I add the other sentences? And then she went ahead, she used the checklist, she checked off everything she had to do, and then she even added the bonus sentences because she said, I want to do good for this video. So she did all of this. So the checklists for the larger assignments is a huge plus, a huge benefit to use. So then I had a worksheet, split worksheet, and a checklist. I can show you a web quest as well. So I have added this web quest with certain parts in English, and it's about verbs, about grammar. This isn't the easiest part for the students. They usually don't like to learn the rules for grammar. They don't like to know how to conjugate the verbs and so on. But I have noticed in the way we work with our web quests that they do it quite right, actually, that they don't mind as much. It's still not their favorite thing, not at all, but it's okay. I most of the time I start with an introduction. The introduction is a split sheet or a video, for example. In this case, it's a small text they have to learn. And then I also have the grammar overview. The grammar overview with the PDF viewer. So this is in here as well. Now I have to close it, of course, because, yeah, I have to start my planner again. Shouldn't have opened it. So the grammar overview is the PDF viewer. And you see in the widgets I make, I always add a cover image. So this is a bit more attractive to the eye for the students. Then I also add the knowledge clips. These are small videos, small chunks of information that I have made myself. I have made the videos, they are on YouTube, they are in Dutch. So I'm sorry if you don't speak Dutch, you won't be able to understand what I say. But I add the video, and then there are a couple of questions just to check if they understand what I am explaining in the video. This is the first part where they get to explore the theory, the grammar of these verbs. This isn't the easiest part. Students who come fresh out of primary, they usually have a teacher tell them, okay, this is how you do it. First you scratch that, then you add those parts. I don't start like that. I make them start on their own. They look at the video and then they make the level test. And the level test, this is where the quiz comes in. It's just a test. The marks, the points for the assignments, the result, they don't matter because they won't be added to their report card. This is important. This is purely to make sure we can see the level of this part. So they fill in all the questions. They send it in. My buttons are still in French as well for certain things. So they can send it in, and then they will get the feedback. And they will get the feedback. You scored 4 out of 10. You are going to have to make the beginner exercises. If they score 7 out of 10 or more, they can make the advanced exercises. And as you may see, sometimes there's more widgets for the advanced. Sometimes it's the other way around, that they make these exercises on their own level. What I do after they made the level test is I check how many beginners are there. They are the curieux in French in my class. Those beginners, I get them out of their spots. I put them in the front of the classroom near me, and for them I explain the entire grammar part again, because they didn't really understand it using the knowledge clip. So that's the way we can differentiate using our online course in BookWidgets. While I am while I'm explaining it to the beginners, the advanced students can get to work. They can make their exercises at their own pace. Sometimes there's only 3 beginners. Well, that's easier for me. I can sit with them, I can coach them, I can explain it again, and then they can make their exercises on their pace. This is important for students, I have noticed, because I teach in a city where there are a lot of students. That's not far from the border with France. There are a lot of students who are native French speakers. And then I have students who barely speak a word of French. So that way they can all work at their own pace. And in my experience, that works quite well. So this is the planner using a couple of different widgets. If you want to see, I also added a bingo because we see the numbers in this part. So there's a lot of options. What I would like to show to you now is inside the planner, because I don't know if you guys are familiar with the planner, the people who are watching. Within this planner, I have a couple of things to show you. First of all, the category colors, I have changed them myself. So the blue part, category 1, is for the grammar. The red is for the vocabulary, and so on and so on. I also have an initial task list. This initial task list is what you will get to see once you click the preview, and this is what the students will see as well. What I can do if I want, these initial tasks, they are made in the left part here with the predefined tasks. So these are the exact same titles here that I gave in the initial task list. Even one different letter will make sure that it doesn't work the way it should. And I will just change one of them now, and I will change the bingo to bing. And if I preview, you get this error. I have listed in my initial task list bonus bingo, but that is not a predefined task yet. Well, if I check the initial task list, it is in fact bonus bingo, but in the predefined list, I made a small typing error that I can correct, and then they will see. If I wanted to add another predefined task, I can do that just by clicking here. I can give it a label. I can select a widget. I will just take the first random widget I can, and it's one from our excursion to Paris, and I am going to give it category 8. Now I have this predefined task. If I click the preview button, it's not there, simply because it hasn't been added to the initial task list yet. If I put the test at the bottom of the list, there's my test, one that didn't get a cover image for once. So the planner, I always give the predefined tasks. This is the exact number of widgets they will have to make per chapter. If you want, if your students are a bit older, or you want to trust them to add extra stuff themselves, in the advanced options, you can see here, you can allow students to reorder the tasks. I don't do that because for me, in the paper syllabus is my overview. I want it to be the same in my planner. You can also allow students to insert tasks. To insert a task, if I make a couple more predefined tasks and I don't put them in the initial task list, they will be able to insert them. I don't do this yet, but I am thinking about adding this next year or in 2 years' time. I just haven't had time to make extra exercises just yet. You can also allow students to define new tasks. If you do that, they will get a plus. I'm just going to empty it. I didn't do it the right way, I guess. Oh, yes, that's why. So here with this plus, they can add a new task or they can add one from the predefined list. So now I can have the student can do this. They can type a title or they can just add a title, study for the test. They can give it a picture as well. But now they can add this in the planner. For my course, I don't really need this just yet. So I keep these checked off. I don't want students to delete my tasks, so I keep everything checked off. This is something you can play with yourself. I know I am going a bit fast, probably. I'm sorry if I do so, but I just want to show a couple more things to you. Just a quick check. Yes, I am going to show you a little part of the web quests. As you saw in the planner, in the web quests about the verbs, I always have my links in the bottom part of the web quests. These are the tabs. These tabs contain a certain exercise or a certain widget they have to make. I prefer working with tabs. I have co-workers who work with a section. So I'm going to show it again. The tabs, they always get shown in the bottom part of the web quest. If you add a section, then you will get an extra part on the left here. This is something that you can choose yourself. If, for example, I want to add, I'm going to add a section on this first one. I select the text and then I tapped the S in the back. I'm going to undo it a bit because I probably went too fast. If I want to make a new section, I select the text and then there is this last symbol, the S, to create a section. And then I'm going to make a third one just to show you guys how it looks. And then there is another section. And if I preview it now, you can see that there are sections at the left part. Maybe I'll just make this section 1. So the layout isn't too messed up like it was. Then you can see the different sections over here. And the tabs also still exist at the bottom part. Some people use both, some use one or the other. This is once again for you to choose freely to how you want to work with your course. Another thing I like to do, and that is what you saw in the planner, is I like to play a bit with the design. I like to add cover images. I have made two types of cover images. Every widget that is visible in the planner gets a square image, because in the planner you saw square images, square cover images. If it doesn't have to be in the planner, it's a rectangular cover image. You can quite easily make this with any program. I use Keynote, some people use Photoshop and things like that. I always like to keep it simple using Keynote. Another quite new addition is in the preview part. This one I would like to show as well. So now you see how the students would see it on an iPad, for example. On the top part here, next to design and print, you have this this smartphone logo. You can tap this and you can see how it changes, how it will be seen on a small screen in portrait mode. So this would be my widget on a smartphone. This would be on a smartphone in landscape mode, and on a large screen in the different modes. So this is the standard one, but you can also add or choose different ones here. Another tip I would like to give, and students appreciate that, if you start with a certain layout, try to keep it the same, try to keep it recognizable. As you may have seen, I always have the same gray background in my widgets. In the planners, in the worksheets, the split worksheets, it's the same gray color. I think you all know that in the preview part, you can click design for that, and you can change that. But, and this is once again, one of the newer additions, I think in the last year, you can also export and import. Here you can export the certain layout that you have used. So for me, it would be the gray background, the letters in white, things like that. I could, on top of here, export that. And if I make a new widget, I click the import button. I choose where I save the file on the computer. So if I click export, it's downloadable. I can't show you because I only share a couple of my screens. But then again, I can import it. And then I can see in my downloads, it should be, what's the name? It's called design. Then I can just import the same design. So I'm going to mess up the background color. I'm going to give the title. I'm going to make the title very small right now. So if I want to readjust this again, I saved the good layout. I can click on the cogwheel on the top right near design. If you don't see the cogwheel, it's because you have scrolled down a bit. So scroll to the top of this, click the cogwheel, import, search where you have saved the file. And as you may see, by importing it, I get right back to what I needed. Students like this. Students like having a course that is fun or concise to look at. I always use the same kinds of pictures or cartoons. I always use the same color of background because the students really appreciate it. That way they recognize it. For me, when I'm walking through the classroom, I can immediately notice this guy isn't working on the right exercise because he has, for example, a green background. Then I know you're working in something from the Dutch courses because my colleague, she uses a green background. I have one more thing to show you, and that's something that I haven't been able to add in the planners just yet because it is a really new thing that has been added in the last couple of weeks. And that is, it's just a regular worksheet, but it is the new question type, the rubrics. These rubrics, in this case, I have translated it for a speaking exercise from the students of my second year. They use these rubrics just to see, okay, that's what I'm going to do. When I give my presentation, it'll have to be in a text about my future in 10 years. It has to have an introduction, 10 sentences about my future, and an ending. So then they can grade themselves. They think, okay, my text is long enough. Fine, I'll give myself 3 out of 3. I might have made some grammar or syntaxis mistakes, so I'm going to give myself a 2. Vocabulary is perfect. I don't miss any word at all. So they can say or try to guess how well they are going to do for the presentation. I give this in advance so they know what is expected of them. They know that they have to talk loud enough. They know that they have to look at the audience when they are presenting their future in 10 years. So this is just a regular worksheet in which the new question type has been added a couple of weeks ago, and it hasn't been that long just yet. So when you add question, you have a lot of question types. Crossword is a new one. And the rubric, in the end, I love this one. I have just started using it 2 weeks ago, I think, or last week. The students think it's easy to use and they know what is expected. I have seen an increase in their marks for the presentations because they pay attention to the things that are mentioned in the rubrics. Rubrics are really easy to make. It's a really nice way to have the students think about what they are doing. I don't know if you have heard about the principle of feed up, feed back, feed forward. Feed up is the fact that they fill it in advance. They know what their goal is. They know what they want to achieve. They send it in. When they are giving their presentations, I correct it. I act like it's a test. I fill it in myself. And then I give them the feedback. I send it back to them. And I can show you what it looks like when it's been handed in, because I had a couple of co-workers fill in one of my rubrics. Now, just hope that it won't take too long to load. There's not a lot of student work waiting anymore. So the names you will see are my co-workers. They know their names will be shown. So I will just take a random one. I will take this one. So if we pretend this is a student, this student thought my presentation is long enough. I have everything I need, but my grammar, sometimes I make mistakes, but I make a lot of translation errors, for example. Once they are giving the presentation, I notice they only gave me 8 sentences with an introduction and an ending. So then I click this. They didn't make any grammar mistakes. So I give them 3 points for that. And you can see it adds up automatically once I click the right part of the rubric. But she was right. She had a lot of wrong translations. She used more Dutch words than French words. So, I'm sorry. I am clicking this. Just like with a regular test, I can add specific comments here. I can tell her to use a dictionary the next time, for example, things like that. And you can send it back just like any other worksheet or any other widget that the students can hand in. As you may see, I have already tested it with one of my co-workers. It was like she gave the best presentation ever. I also typed it here. Your presentation was, as always, remarkable, great work. The difference between the lighter blue and the brighter blue, I call it. The bright blue is what I gave them. The more lighter blue with the hat is the points they gave themselves. If it matches, if this student gave herself a 3 out of 3 for grammar and syntaxis, then you see the little hat in the bottom part as well. So this is how the rubrics question type works, and that is one of the latest additions.